Welcome to Cracking the Horsebeak Code. We welcome you to take the journey with us
as we explore the horse's language, mind, and heart. Welcome to Cracking the Horsebeak Code. I'm Laura Wilsie here with Sharon Wilsie, and we're so excited to welcome you to an experience of understanding horse body language. We have decoded the language of the horse. We're using specific gestures, postures, and signals to emulate horse body language so we can have conversations with them instead of expecting them to understand our language.
To kick this off, we're going to start with talking about horses communicating with each other in a really basic way. And you look out any day if you've got a couple of horses that you own, and you're going to see them moving around, eating hay, eating grass, doing their thing. But in the research that we've done, we discovered that they're actually doing a lot more than we thought they were doing. So one of the things is when horses are moving around, they're using everything from nose to tail to communicate with each other, and really not only precise gestures, but also using the posture, like if their head goes up, if the head goes down, using the angles of communication. So two horses standing next to each other or side by side or at an angle like this. And then there's things like the kind of tail swishing they're doing or the kind of step they took. I mean, this thing goes really, really deep. And we've been at it for, 5-6 years now teaching?
Yep, since the book came out in 2016.
Yeah, and we're still learning.
Every day, every time going out with the horses is an opportunity to try something and to watch the horse respond. And that's the real important part when you are exploring horse speak there is a whole book, and there's actually going to be a third book coming out next year in 2020.
Which was a lot to work on.
2022. And so we're just so excited to be able to have this opportunity to share with you about how you, after learning a couple things from our show, to go out and try to greet a horse for the first time.
Right. So that's one of the most interesting things, is that horses have a specific way of acknowledging each other, and we call it a greeting. So because it looks like a greeting. Now, if we're human beings and we're greeting, we might reach over and shake hands like this. But there's actually a lot going on there. So if I'm going to really greet someone, we tend to look each other in the eye. We shake hands, there's an acknowledgement, we tend to nod heads, and then when we release...
And eye contact, which is really important.
Very important. And then we release and we don't do this and stare at each other. We do this.
Turn our shoulder.
And get comfortable with each other. So those are just some nonverbal things that humans instinctively do, and horses have the same kind of thing in their greeting. The difference is we're unconscious about it and they're conscious about it. So once you start to see some of the things that horses are doing consciously that they're doing, you can stop being unconscious about your body language, because so many people, right? Don't you find this? So many people say that, oh my God, I've always done this thing or that thing. And we're like, yeah, because it's body language and we have it too. It's just that we do it sort of almost by accident, or it's in the subconscious. So what we're doing is taking things that we normally take for granted and putting a highlighter on it and saying, no, this is a small thing that's a big thing for horses.
Because even Sharon's gestures with her hands are saying something. Yes, we're using them in language. She's Italian, so she's all about doing big gestures with her hands. And that can have an influence on the horse as well. So we have to be constantly aware of how we are gesturing around a horse, whether it's our belly button facing right on them, or we're, go like this. Like, all of that has meaning to them.
Right. So you take your hat off, and a horse is going to say, well, your hand went up. What does it mean? And it didn't mean anything. It meant you were taking your hat off. Because of that, horses have learned to basically tune us out. Because some of our body language is not for any communication purpose whatsoever. And then, like, I'm Italian, so I'm always doing this. So they don't know which thing we're doing that means something and which thing we're doing doesn't mean something. So they've just kind of scrubbed it out, and they're like, I don't know, when you want something from me, come poke me or something and let me know. So when people are learning this body language, what happens is the horses tune in like intensely. So what the change is, as a dog trainer, I always thought that horses didn't pay attention to your body language. Like if you point, they don't notice that. They don't do anything with it. Like if you point at a dog or you throw a toy, the dog looks. And I was always taught horses don't do that, but it turns out they do. It's just that because we do so many unconscious things and they don't know what to listen to, they've learned to not listen to anything that's not a directive at them. So what you're going to see in this video is we're going to show a couple of horses moving around, and what we do at a clinic is we turn horses loose so the audience can witness them just being horses. And I'll do some narration and talk about what I see and who the leaders show up to be, because there's not just one. It's not alpha and followers. That's not how herds work. They have different kinds of leadership roles for different purposes. So we usually see, who's showed up on the chessboard and what horses are here and what are they doing. And then I'll enter in and see if I can start to horse speak with them and communicate with them, which of course at first they're like, we don't know what you're doing, and people don't do that. And as soon as they start to realize that I am doing that, you'll see a big change in their attitude.
Absolutely. All right, let's get the video rolling then.
Let's get it going. All right, so here we see these three, they're two halflingers and one's a halflinger cross. And they're just been turned loose in the indoor. We have it barricaded so that they have a half of the indoor to themselves. And what they're doing is typical horse motion. You have a leader in the front, that's the map maker. You have a leader in the back, that's the protector. And you have the horse in the middle. That's the horse who wants to be in the middle. They're like, I don't want to make any decisions and I don't want to protect myself. So the leader in the back stops to make a statement in the middle of the arena. So that's important because the protectors will often do that kind of thing. They'll stop and say, hey, I'm taking it all in. I'm looking at this whole thing going on right here. Whereas the leader in the front, who is the map maker, she said, come with me, let's go over, this looks like a safe place over here, and takes the follower with her. So those are some of the characteristics that you'll see that are different. So I want to walk in and I want the horses to see me as a map maker or a protector or a mentor, but a kind of horse personality that would make a difference in a horse herd, that I could add value to their herd.
And as you are in this scene right here, you are taking the fence line, which is a protector role.
And when I do that, they say, what the heck? And they get out of there. And this is pretty typical when horses see a person. They say, I don't know what that person's doing. I should get away from that person. Just pause that there for a second. So let's think about this for 1 second. How many people have a hard time catching their horse? Right? A lot. We get a lot of calls all the time. It's hard to catch my horse. And then, okay, once I get my horse, then they go with me, but I don't know if they really want to be going with me. So that's the next question we usually get. And I just want to say, when you go back and play that again. Just roll backwards a little bit. When you see this reminds us that horses are prey animals. They're more like deer than like dogs.
And as you're watching it in slow motion going backwards, you can see that Sharon, when she was in the corner of the screen, she took a step, nodded, and took a step backward. That was a gesture to the horses.
To the horses to say, don't worry, I'm not chasing you. So here, what I did is I just tapped the fence to say, this is mine, because horses will claim the fence line, and that's what they were trying to do. And I didn't want them to push through and escape into the crowd.
Their horses,
so I tapped the fence and said,
wood.
Exactly,
So.
This is mine, don't cross this fence. And instead of just listening to me, they took off running. And the map maker said, let's go. The follower said, yikes, we better get out of here. And the protector stood between them and me. So he got between where I was in this chessboard and where they went in this chessboard. So it's like he took the attention onto himself, kind of like, those birds when they like flop their wing and they say, don't look at my babies. So that's really interesting. And when they did that to me, I said, okay, I know what I need to do to create harmony here.
And you had mentioned the word chessboard. Can you talk about that just for a moment?
Well, we just call whatever the environment is the horse is in, we call that a chessboard, because there's places in that environment that are like the place they want to be. It represents safety or resources. They have water and food there. And then there's also places on the chessboard where they don't want to be, and everybody knows you bring a horse into an arena in this one boogeyman corner, right?
And the corner the horses are standing in typically could be the boogeyman corner,
Right.
because it's the furthest
So they're
away
saying,
from where they came in.
They're saying, I'd rather be in boogeyman corner than anywhere near this person. Okay, so I'm like, wow, that's a compliment. So what I want to do right away is say, take the pressure off and say, I'm not a threat to you. Now I do have a stick. I have a little stick in my hand because I'm in an arena with 3 loose horses that I've never met before. But the stick doesn't mean anything. It's just there for me to direct my intention if I need it. So because I stepped back when they left, they already have some interest. The 2 leaders turn and look at me. And the follower goes to the little poop that he had made there, and she says, well, I'm just going to stay here between you guys. We call this the sandwich. Stop right there for a second. So here we have the sandwich. We have the 2 leaders, and we have the follower in the middle, and this is like peanut butter and jelly, and this little guy wants to be the peanut butter and the jelly. I don't want to make any of these decisions. You guys look at the scary person. I don't even want to look at her. But because I had stepped back and breathed out and taken the pressure off when they left, they said, oh, this is different. So just doing that had caught their attention.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's
so let's go
absolutely
forward.
amazing.
So we'll do normal speed. And as a result of that, I was able to get into what we call a low O posture. This removes all the pressure. I've got my knuckle out in front. This is the greeting signal. So I'm not going to put my mouth on a horse's mouth, but I can use my knuckle right there, and they will put their muzzle on my knuckle, and that's a formal greeting. So interesting, the leader horse, who was the map maker, she went behind me to tell her follower, like, I'll check things out. Make sure you can say hi to the person. And then I said, excuse me, that's my fence. And then I greeted the leader horse also.
And you just used your pointy fingers to help her slow down, so then she didn't go through the end of that fence line, which was
Right.
not the most stable place.
And I needed my pointy finger, not my whip, because now I'm talking to them. And there's actually activation centers all along a horse's body that we call buttons because they're interactive. It's not like push the button, make it happen. It's not a machine. We just call them buttons because they're interactive, and horses influence these buttons up and down each other's bodies as they're saying something. So when I go backwards for a second there and show, so when this mare says, well, I'm going to go past you and I'm going to go check that out, I saw that, but there's my finger, stop. My finger came to her cheek, not her muzzle, and this is a big mistake.
Yes.
When I learned this, I was like, holy cow, I've been making this mistake for years. When horses touch each other's side of the muzzle, so they go like on the side right here, that's the play button. So you never want to push a horse's head away by touching the side of their mouth, because that says, you can bite me, let's bite, let's play, that's fun.
There's so many folks that we've talked to about learning about the play button, and because their horse continues to bring their face into their chest area, and they're like, I keep asking their face to go away, and it's like, did you go up to the cheek?
Or did you stay
just
at the
right
lips?
here? Because watching horses on horse communication, they're constantly playing with each other's mouth.
Right.
And we don't want to do that. So going up to their cheek will change everything if you have a horse who is constantly invading your space.
So with that being said, I'm pointing at this horse's cheek, which is the back of the jaw. It's at the back of the halter. And because I point at her cheek, she stops her motion and brings her muzzle around. So when we're greeting, we're actually aiming for between the nostrils. So there's 2 nostrils, and we aim for between the nostrils. That's the greeting button, and you'll see horses do it with each other. And sometimes horses will do nostril on nostril sniffing, but we get into that later. So for now, I just greeted her muzzle and said, we need to be friends. You can see she's touching me, and then I reach up to the bridge of her nose, which is another button spot, and I say, I need you to respect my space and not push through. And that mare says, okay, no problem. And the follower looks and says, oh, wow, this leader horse is listening to this person. Huh, that's different. I guess this person has something to say. So I go to the other cheek and I say, could you move your head aside? And the leader says, yep, and looks at the follower and says, this lady knows what she's talking about.
And their ears are like...
You can see the ears. They're going, what the heck's going on? This is crazy.
So
All right, now do normal.
Go in again to the cheek.
Right. And then I say cheek, neck, and shoulder. Can you actually step aside? Now, go back to that for a second. So this guy, this is the protector horse. He came and touched a cone, and that's not by accident. So horses will use objects to represent safety. So they will put their nose on an object, and they're saying, this is a safe place to be, and that's his role as protector. So when he saw what I did, he came and touched the cone and looked at me, and he's like, this is becoming a safer environment. How interesting. So go forward.
I love actually all the ear sets here, because the two protector horses, they have their ears sideways, which we call airplane ears. And then we have the peanut butter and jelly horse, the chestnut, in the middle. Her ears are definitely more perky because she's a little bit more aware, a little bit more hypervigilant of this communication, rather than these protectors are completely trusting the situation.
So he's decided, I'm going to come and greet. And there's a really good greeting. Now, when he looked away, he's looking over at the audience and things going around that are happening in the chessboard. So I also looked away. I looked at the boogeyman corner, and I said, well, I'll watch that. So we just agreed. He said, well, I have to watch out for everything going on. And I looked over him and said, well, I'm going to watch out for things going on too. So when he brings his face back to me, he says, no kidding. Mm-hmm. And that changed everything. You see, he blinks. And then he looks at what I looked at. He's like, you saw something I didn't even see? And that allows us to start to get in harmony with each other. And again, it's not about the stick, so I move the stick away and just go forward there, normal speed. And that allows us to do matching steps together. And he drops his nose to the ground to say, that's his version of an O posture. He took all the pressure off, and then we could greet again. Now the two mares are like, all right, this is great. We're going to come back. And I ask him, would you follow me again? I use the cheek button to say that. And he says, yes. And then he goes in front of me to show me his hip and to drive those mares forward. So what he just did to me and what I did to him and what he did to them is the same thing. Right here, stop right there. There's his eye and ear driving the mares forward because he's the protector. So he's not doing it because he's a bully. He's not doing it because he's boss. He's doing it.
That is so important.
Very important.
The bully, a lot of folks have this perception that horses are bullying each other when they're asking them to move. But when you can have a paradigm switch about the understanding of how horses truly act like a family system, a healthy family system, that these horses are asking that this gelding here, he is the protector, and he's like, no, I'm going to ask you ladies to please go to the other end of the arena right now.
And he does that with he's jutting out his nose, his ears are back, and his eyes look a little bit hard. And so he does this motion. He doesn't have hands. I have hands. Mm-hmm. So I put my hand toward, we'll go backwards more.
Back more, yeah.
I put my hand, when he first gave me the sign of his hip, I put my hand up like this. That would be me saying, I see your hip. So he can use his eyes and his facial expression to do this to the girls, but I need to use my eyes and my hand to do this because of the shape of my body.
Right, and at first you can see in the scene right now where she's using the pointy finger, be like, I'm going to drive you forward, and as soon as he started moving, you put to the palm.
Palm is connection.
Connection.
So I said, you need to go when I said go, and then he said to them, and those guys need to go when I say go.
Yeah.
Because what happened here basically is a transfer of power. So he said, I'm the protector. I said, yes, you are, but we can share. When he moved in front of me, he said, oh, yeah, are you going to protect my rear? Are you going to guard me from behind? When I did this and said, you go ahead, I've got your back. And that's what that means.
And so many horses love
that message. They love that message, but especially a protector, because for him, it means he's got a day off.
Yeah.
So he touches another safety.
And actually, let's rewind for 1 second.
Safety object.
Yeah, and then it's interesting because you can see that the peanut butter and jelly mare is at another button.
She's at the girth button there.
Yeah.
It's a higher place on the body, but she's at the girth button because she's saying, everything just got nervous. I'm worried about it.
And it's kind of more that in that moment, because a lot of what we're teaching with horse speak is about what's going on in this moment. Who are the players on the chessboard? How are they moving in this kind of arena? And so that's kind of like a baby message,
Right.
really.
It is like a baby message.
I'm going to line up at your girth because I don't know what's going on.
Right. Right. So the protector lowered his head and touched a safety object to tell the peanut butter and jelly, you're okay, don't worry about it.
You're fine.
You're fine. You're fine.
Everything you're safe.
Everything you're safe. So here we can call them almost like mama and papa at
Yes.
this point, right?
Yeah.
And they're not literally mama and papa, they're kind of acting that way. So the mama's kind of got this nervous horse over there, like, we'll stand behind these poles, this will be fine, we'll stand right here, don't worry. And then he comes back around to greet me and have more conversation with me. And you'll see this with a good leader horse will sort of put the herd in a safe place, and then they'll come do all the interactions where the herd can watch and see what happens next.
And then you can see with the greeting where Sharon was blinking as well as the horse was blinking. She's lowering her shoulders. She's checking in again, having this low O posture, going toward the button,
The friendly button.
friendly button.
Right.
And just to have a really sweet connection with him.
Right. And what that's all about is I'm saying to him, we can relax, we can be safe, you're safe with me, it's all good. Because there's like 50 people staring at them. So to be honest, it doesn't feel very
And
safe
the
for
arena
them.
is totally set up.
Yeah.
They don't have that barrier there.
Right,
normally,
everything's different
so,
in their world.
yeah.
And they're like, who the heck are you?
Yeah.
And to, in a few minutes to have them come back and go, okay, can we talk? 'Cause this is good.
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point now, I'm working on creating movement in harmony with them. So I'm saying, hey, go to the safety cone, and he does. So now we're agreeing on the body language, and this is a practice. So he's going to ask me, what about this? And I'm going to say, hey, that. Or I'm going to say, what about this? Can you go down and touch a cone when I do? And he said, I can, just because I didn't reach down and touch it all the way, but I pointed at it, and he understood. We understood each other, so great. So I stood up and said, huh. Look
Well
at that.
done.
And he looks at me going, huh, well, look at that. No human's ever done that before. So this is an opportunity to build rapport. And I think what we find and what the people who learn horse speak find is that this builds so much rapport with horses and so fast because you are literally learning to emulate how they do things, even though our body shape is so totally different.
Absolutely. It's
So-
profound. It really is.
What
every
happens-
every time we talk to horses, it's like the first time we've ever talked to.
I know.
And
It's a little bit addicting.
It
just to
is.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're meeting horses that we've never met before, so it is cool, but it doesn't matter how many new horses we meet. It's always so exciting, and we spend hours after we meet a horse to
This
just talk.
happened, that happened.
It's
very
so
cool.
fun.
So what happens next? The whole herd comes in to work with me and Miss Scaredy Pants. And I get to do a little bit of hands-on work with her where I'm asking her to rebalance herself. That's a balancing technique where I'm asking her, can you relax? And she's very stiff and like, I don't know if I can relax. But she does a really lovely backup. That's called the therapy backup. And then I say, that's a good job. So I'm inviting her now, can you move with me a little bit in balance? And she's like, oh, I can try that. And we can see the leader mare starts to move ahead and the protector starts to move behind. And by doing that and circling around her and me, they're saying, we are in this together. And that's the beautiful thing about this is that horses really want you to be part of their herd. And they're showing this by taking turns with me now.
Yeah.
So now we have the mama horse move in and say, do that to me.
Yeah. Sign me up.
Sign me up. That feels good. And her ears go sideways, and she gives me blinking and a soft look. And
Yeah,
then
it's beautiful.
he comes in and he says, I'll do some of that too. But he's got more ideas. He's very interested. He's watched me doing this with them. And I say, I can talk to more of your buttons and create a balanced turn. Look at him giving his nose to my hand. I'm not holding him. He's doing that all on his own. He's licking and chewing because he likes what's happening. So this is now creating healthy contact and healthy touch that involves balanced movement together. So I am asking the backup button there, can you take a step back? And he's going to step. When they do that, when horses use that on themselves, that's the backup button. We'll show a video of a horse doing it with other horses. This is a really crucial button, and it's not on the chest because chest means pride. And if you push the chest to make them go backwards, you're actually saying, you have no pride with me. don't really want to do that.
No.
But it turns out the eye of their elbow, that's what I just touched. So go back and show it. The eye of the elbow right there, it's like an arrow. It's like the FedEx arrow. You never saw it till you saw it. Now you can't unsee it. It's like this. This is the arrow pointing you to where they actually want to back up from, because it's a joint. And when you touch that joint, it's full of nerves, it's a little bit ticklish, and it makes them want to roll backwards. And when they do it well, all the joints in their body relax. That's why we call it the therapy backup, because it's like therapy.
And I just want to comment on the ears, where the set of his ears are in what we call a concentrating ear. So he's really concentrating on listening to what Sharon is asking him, so that, and he is also having to balance his whole body, because you're doing some real precision with him. So he's concentrating. So it's not to be, flat back ears would be totally back flat onto their head. So sometimes people do have a little bit of confusion with a set of ears like this. He's just like, I'm all in with this experience. I'm exploring with you. I'm thinking and I'm learning.
Right.
So we'll go forward.
So you can see him licking and chewing as he does it, taking a big breath there. And what that creates, now that the protector feels protected, and I gave him a cone, so we're even.
Yeah. He's got
it's
a
even
safety
better.
object.
He's got a safety object. This motion, doing this motion with all the horses, having all of them do a little bit of therapy backup, a little bit of balance forward, relax, release any tension in your joints, and now with all that relaxation, come forward with me. So basically, I've inserted myself as someone valuable in their herd, because not only can I help them feel safe, can I create harmony, can I create a sense of well-being, I'm also personally with each horse, helping each horse release any tension that was there. So we end with all of them looking at me. And if you want to train a horse, you want their attention.
Yeah.
Now, I've learned back in the day 101 ways to get a horse's attention, and none of them felt that good. Except for maybe clicker training. But then sometimes you have almost too much attention; they get overexcited.
And then there's the horse we talked about at the beginning, in your space constantly, and you keep hitting the side of their mouth, and they keep coming back in.
You're like, I want that, yeah. So, but you want their attention. You need them to focus on you and not on the boogeyman, not on the scary parts of the chessboard. You want them to be focused on you. So at the end of the day, I had 3 horses completely focused on me.
Absolutely. And they're all basically all square. in their feet.
Calm, relaxed, happy, and basically in the mind of like, what's next?
Yeah.
And that is the point, that when you're learning this body language, you can create this kind of rapport, and a lot of people on day one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best thing about learning a little bit of horse speak. It can go a long way and really fast. People who have had horses for years, they do just a greeting, and everything with their relationship changes.
Yeah.
And the more that you get involved with learning about horse speak, like we mentioned buttons, we mentioned chessboard, we show some, Sharon did dancer's arms that's where she had her hand on the halter.
Bridge of the nose, and just asking for a gentle, it's very gentle.
And it's
not
all
forceful.
in the book Horse Speak,
Right.
the Equine Human Translation Guide. So this was just a quick overview. This was only a 4.5-minute video, and we spent 30 minutes going over it with you. So stay tuned to be able to learn more about cracking the code of horse speak.